Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. Hey, I appreciate you being with me. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Now, yesterday I introduced to you and for you an ancient Hebraic practice of inserting into the Masoretic text indications of breaks in subject. Now, I kind of went brain dead trying to remember the second term. One of them is Parsha, Setuma, and they would indicate a minor break, not a major break whatsoever, but a minor break in the text between, foregoing discussion and afterwards. And that a minor break was indicated as a Setuma. Now, like I said, I went kind of brain dead yesterday. I've been trying to memorize these terms that have been shared with me by my friend in Israel, who is a Hebrew scholar. And the second term that I completely lost was Parsha Petucha. Petucha. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the Petucha indicated a major break. In other words, you have this being said, and now here we have something else. Now guess what? In Daniel chapter 7, there is no Parsha Setuma between Daniel 7, 1 to 12, and verse 13 and 14. Therefore, the ancient rabbis, the ancient commentaries, saw that as one continuous narrative. Now, we are told that verse 13 and 14, now we're not told this by the rabbis. Okay, I want this understood. We are told this by modern commentators who believe that Daniel 7, 13, and 14 is a prediction of the ascension of Christ. Well, that means, as I've suggested to you, that Daniel 7, 1 to 12 is one united prophecy, but that verse 13 and 14 is a radical disjunction, a complete total interpolation, a parenthetical insertion that has nothing to do with the previous discussion, and furthermore has nothing to do with verse 15 and following. Well, guess what? Once again, there is no Parsha Setuma between verse 12 and verse 13. They didn't have verse designations. You got a continuous text, and so that's how they would break it up. Setuma, Petucha. And guess what? There is not a Parsha Petucha between verse 12 and verse 13 and 14. So what does that mean? That meant that those ancient scribes, those ancient commentaries, believed that Daniel chapter 7, 1 to 14 was a harmonious, united, unified narrative. No break. But here's what's amazing. Between what we call verse 14 and verse 15 and following, they had a Parsha Petucha, which meant they now recognize that verses 1 to 14 is a vision, verse 15 and following is the interpretation. It's not vision, it's interpretation, and thus a major break. So I wanted to clarify that. Hopefully you can see the incredible power of this. And let me reiterate, I'm not hanging my hat on it. I'm not saying this is the absolute definitive. I'm simply saying that it is evidence to consider that the ancient rabbis in the Masoretic text gave no indication of any kind whatsoever of a break between Daniel chapter 7, 1 to 12, and verse 13 and 14. No break whatsoever. I just looked at it this morning. Okay. We then come to consider, somewhat briefly this morning, the New Testament usage of the terminology of the coming of the Son of Man. Now, listen, make no mistake, the terminology of the Son of Man, one like the Son of Man, etc., has caused a tremendous amount of ink to be poured out. It has caused unending discussion and controversy. But we can break it down somewhat into the following realities. The New Testament writers, in the Gospels and in Revelation even, use the term Son of Man and even coming of the Son of Man in a couple of different ways. Number one, simply to speak of Christ's incarnation, not his ascension at all. We are never given a text in the New Testament that refers to the ascension of Christ as the coming of the Son of Man. And I'll vindicate that more. Secondly, we have predictions, Matthew 16, Matthew 17, some others, in which Jesus said, the Son of Man must go to Jerusalem and there be crucified and slain and be raised the third day. Okay, that's clearly distinct from his incarnate coming. It's involved in it, obviously, but it's not the totality of it. It is a distinct reference to the Son of Man going to Jerusalem to be crucified. Then we have a tremendous number of New Testament texts, mostly in the Gospels, that speak of the coming of the Son of Man. We even have many passages that speak of the coming of the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory in the kingdom with the angels and in judgment of the little horn, or to rephrase that, in judgment of the persecutor of God's people. Now, let me make this observation, ladies and gentlemen. Point number one, Daniel chapter 7 is very clear that the little horn would be active in persecuting the saints in the days of the fourth empire, which is Rome. Okay? Now, we have one of two choices here. We can say, oh, well, Rome was the persecuting power, and in my debate with Sergius Baal, he acknowledges that Nero persecuted the church, and then he insists that Domitian persecuted the church. He hadn't produced much evidence of that, and by the way, that entire debate, so up to this point, and it will be, that entire debate will be posted on my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. So, it's really amazing to me. The longer this debate goes on, and it's almost done, the more acerbic, the more insulting, the more caustic, the more hateful Mr. Baal has gotten, and I think there's a reason for that. He knows he has not produced the necessary evidence to prove, number one, that Domitian ever persecuted the church in any systematic, widespread way as Roman policy. And number two, he therefore has not proven in any way, shape, form, or fashion that the book of Revelation was written during the time of Domitian, during the time of persecution. And so you just need to be aware of that. But nonetheless, we have that reality. We know that Nero persecuted the church. We have no definitive proof. And by the way, Mr. Baal admits this. He admits that in his affirmatives, his information, his evidence is, quote, not conclusive, unquote, and, quote, not definitive, unquote. Okay, so let me get this straight. He's calling me a heretic, a false teacher, a liar, etc., 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 for taking the early date, although he admits his evidence is not conclusive and not definitive. How's that for a debate? Okay, got to go on here. Now, let me point something out to you. And I'm going to have to pick this up and continue it next Monday, I can already tell. But I want to present enough evidence to you so that you can see for yourself that the New Testament interpretation. Now, we've already gone over the interpretation of Daniel chapter 7, 1 to 14, by examining Daniel 7, 15 and following. That's definitive, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to share with you at the moment a quote from a noted scholar, recognized scholar, and this is found in a handbook on the Jewish roots of the Christian faith, edited by Craig Evans and David Mishkin. The quote is from Andreas Stutz. This work was produced in 2019, and on page 158, Stutz says, quote, Jesus adapted the term Son of Man in a very balanced way, 16 times relating to his earthly life. In other words, his personal ministry, as I've already pointed out. 27 times he uses the term Son of Man to refer to his passion and his suffering. 26 times he uses the term Son of Man to speak of his glorification, and then he adds this. While Jesus applied the term Son of Man from Daniel 7, 13 and 14 to the various states of his ministry, in other words, Jesus used the term, he applied the vision, that is, the vision itself, reported in Daniel 7, 13 and 14, along with Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. And you really ought to examine the context of Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10, which of course follows the book of Daniel. So Zechariah is drawing on Daniel almost undoubtedly, but it's just like Daniel 7, it's a judgment context. So anyway, while Jesus applied the term Son of Man from Daniel 7, 13 and 14 to the various states of his ministry, he applied the vision reported in Daniel 7, 13 and 14 exclusively and unambiguously to his return. Matthew 24:30, Matthew 26:64, Luke 21, 26 to 27. This observation confirms Jesus understood himself as the Danielic Son of Man. Well, amen and amen. But did you catch the fact that he said that Jesus applied Daniel 7, 13 and 14? He specifically applied that prophecy exclusively and unambiguously to his return. And ladies and gentlemen, that claim is undeniably true. And I'll vindicate that next week, okay? As we look at the New Testament passages that speak of the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven in the kingdom to judge the persecuting power. Now, folks, if that's not Daniel 7, I don't know what is. You need to be looking at that and looking forward to that. Now, look, do not forget, okay, our offer, our very special offer for November 2021, U.S. orders only. My book, 70 Weeks Are Determined for the Resurrection, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory, and what did I do with that other one? Anyway, it's Dan Derry's book, The Meaning of the Manner. If you purchased all three books separately, paid separate shipping, you would spend well over $60. For the month of November 2021, U.S. orders only, your total delivered price, $39 $95. Nothing extra. And oh, by the way, I'll be including this little bookmark for you. There is one of those real squiggly thingy maneuvers that allows you to get a reduced price on my book, 70 Weeks Are Determined. So when you order this 3-book special, you're going to get a real handy little book cover, a book marker, along with a very special offer for a reduced price on my book, 70 Weeks Are Determined for the Resurrection. Okay, once again, this is an extremely short week. I will not be producing videos for the rest of this week. I want to express to you my hope, my wish, my prayer for you to have a fantastic time in giving thanks this wonderful time of the year. I hope you have a great time with your family. Be safe. God bless. I'll see you next Monday.